Welcome to the Soul Star Podcast with your spiritual besties, Allie and Mandy. We're here to make your spiritual journey fun, relatable, and inspiring. So let's raise your vibe and ignite your soul together.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Soul Star Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode. We're so happy to have you here. Today, we are just going to have a mishmash conversation about things that are coming up, because if they're coming up for us, I'm sure they're coming up for you. And then next week, I think we're going to talk about the winter solstice. I did not hear that.
You didn't hear my whistle?
No, she whistled.
That's embarrassing. Because then my lips went like that.
Wait, so before we start, I wanted to ask you how your practice circle went recently.
Oh yeah, it was so good. I love it. So this week or last week, the students were practicing how to read energy outside of a human being. Right?
So like different kinds of energy.
Mm-hmm. So, like they were, for the past few weeks has been learning to read the chakras, right? On each other, moving through the chakras, reading that energy. And then this week, it was like, okay, like take what you learned here and like, let's use it on something else. So whether that's a business, an animal, a group of, like a classroom, all of these things. So we decided to do an animal, and there was a little bit of like
hesitation.
Yeah. Like
apprehension.
Apprehension. Kind of like, I really don't know what I'm going to get from an animal. Like, that kind of like, like when we've learned how to bubble our energy and we're like, this is stupid.
Is this even going to work?
It's not going to work. This is dumb. And like, so it was kind of a little bit of that. And I was like, you know what? Like, what's the harm? Like, let's just go in, let's just try it. See what you get. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. Yeah. And so one of the students was kind of like a little bit more struggling, kind of like, how am I supposed to do this? And I could feel that the ego side of the brain was getting louder than the intuitive side. And so I was like, just, let's just go in and be like, who gives a shit? Let's just go in and be like, whatever. If something comes, it comes. I'm like, let go of all expectations. Let go of how it should or could show up. I'm like, literally just go in and like connect to the energy and just see what happens. Right? Just let it go. And so it was like, okay, all right. Okay, we'll see. Oh my God. The best reading. Like she came back, and I would even say the best reading she's done so far.
Wow.
And it was just like so much information and completely on point. See what
happens when you intentionally ask your ego to fuck off?
Yeah, like see you later. And so maybe we had to do this ridiculous reading of like, an animal you've never met. And even feeling kind of like, what's the point? All of those things. And then, but just going in and like being like, okay, fine, I'll just let go of all, and it all just flowed in. Like I couldn't believe how much information came through. I couldn't believe how accurate and on point it was. And so, yeah, it was just such a true, and demonstration of how our ego can really, really block us. Yeah. From a lot of things. So it was a great even learning experience for me because my ego gets very loud, and I explain that in class too. Like my ego gets loud, and I'm like, it's sometimes really hard, but it was just so beautiful to watch, to see it in action, to be like, yeah, like, well, we can step it aside and be like, I don't give a crap. Whatever comes in, comes in. And then, yeah, we weren't gatekeeping it in that sense. Yeah. So it was fantastic.
And that is the magic of practice circles, because you have a safe space to just share whatever the fuck comes through and then surprise yourself. And that's how you begin to trust what you're receiving, because it's being validated in the moment and you're feeling it. and you're seeing it in like firsthand. So that is why I love the practice circles.
I know it really does make that huge difference, because without that validation, your ego can easily creep in and be like, yeah, but what do I know? Like, that sounds silly. It's yeah. So, and it just, again, like reaffirms that you're getting it right. And then when you can do that, then you can reflect on like, okay, how did that feel when that came in? Like, what were the nuances? Like, it just, like, boom, this is why, doing it.
Aw. Yay!
Yeah.
That's great.
So fun. So
Good.
fun.
And you also have a story. I mean, you're going to have more stories than me, I think, moving forward, because you're like actively working in energy and intuition.
Well, it's
and
going to be different types of stories.
Yes,
you're still, in the spiritual realm within yourself and all of that. Yeah. So, the other night I had, one of my neighbors, send me a text, and, she mentioned that her daughter, was like seeing, or like her daughter would like point to different places in the, condo and be like, oh, there's the scary man. Daughter's like, oh gosh, 3, I think 3. Yeah. So like very similar to Tanner.
Yeah.
And so kind of like she's all of a sudden became very vocal about there's the scary man, and being nervous and stuff. And I kind of spoke about like with Tanner, and like, some things to ask, like, what does, is there a color associated, all these type of things. And then it was like, so this was the night, because I was telling you prior to coming on that I performed a healing for somebody. Something activated within me. All of a sudden, I was super freaking open. I was having downloads like Mandy, used to have. I haven't experienced it like that, where I'm like, like I was just like, all the things. And so super open. So unintentionally, I'm like making myself dinner, and I'm like, oh, I think it's her grandfather, like the great grandfather to the little girl, grandfather to the mom. And so I was like, I think it's your grandfather. I think it's your grandfather. And she was kind of like, oh yeah, well, yeah, he definitely has he did have a strong presence. And then the memory came back to me about, remember when I first...
The smoking.
Yeah.
I can read
yes, you can. So when I first moved into this condo, within the first year, I was invited up to my neighbors, and with another neighbor, and to get to know them and have a glass of wine and all of that. And I remember coming home after, and all I could smell was cigarette smoke, and it was so freaking strong. I was able to verify nobody else was smelling it. And I was like, God damn it. And so then I was like, okay, what's going on? And I, connected to a spirit. I knew it was a spirit doing this, because I've had this before. And I was like receiving the message, like, they wanted me to go and tell them. And I'm like, absolutely not. I will not do that. I just met these people. I'm like, I'm new to this building. I'm not going to be like, hey, do anybody have like a past loved one that's passed that was a chain smoker? Like, they want to talk to you. Like,
in like the group chat of the condo.
Yeah. Let's go on there. Just wanting to know, just like, I don't want to scare anybody, but like, here I am.
There's a ghost roaming the halls, and it smells like cigarette smoke.
and I had like briefly kind of touched on the business, right? Doing what I did with them, but like I touch it very lightly, because you never know what people's perspective is. So whatever, I'd left it. That was 2 years ago. And then while I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh my God, was that him? And so then I kind of like, I was like, did your grandfather smoke at all? And she was like, comes back, oh yeah, he was a heavy smoker. And I'm like, oh gosh, dang it. I'm like, and so I said, I don't think I ever told you this. And I went and explained, and he was like, oh my God. And I was like, yeah. And he was just so persistent. Like, I could not get rid of him. It was like almost a week where I was like, I am not going. I will not. And he was so like, he wanted me to go, and so she was like, oh my God, like, yeah, like that totally would be him, where he would just kind of, strong presence. And then so we're just like, what? And I'm like, wow, it's so nice to have that connected. And then she like comes on, she goes, oh my God, you won't believe that. Oh no. So before that, I was kind of like just secretly to myself, because I didn't want to be like, hey, I'm talking. I didn't want to open it up to be like, oh, I'm talking, and like then like having like this weird mediumship through the walls. We're not together, and just like I had no planning on like opening up and doing a mediumship reading and all that stuff. So I just kind of said to him, I was like, why are you there? Like, why are you bugging her? And he was like, because she has these gifts. Like, I'm here to help support her. And I was like, okay, do you have to be so intimidating? Right? Like, I'm like, do you have to make it scary? And then I felt this energy of like, what? I am? Like, that wasn't my intention. Like, it was totally like, had no idea that he was being scary and intimidating. And it was just kind of like this, like, what? And so I was like, yeah, man. So whatever, I'd left it. And then I get this text. She's like, oh my God, you won't believe this. She's like, my mom's putting my daughter to bed. And my mom just came out to say the daughter was like, oh, there's the scary man. He just said hi to me. He wanted to say hi to me.
Oh my God, I just got full body goosebumps. That is so cute.
So that's when I was like, oh my God. And then I told her about this little conversation I had just had with him. And I said about the intimidating, and she's like, oh my God, you won't believe this. She's like, my mom just told me, because obviously she was telling her mom, like, my mom just told me that when she was younger, she one time turned to her dad and was like, do you not understand how intimidating you are? And he was truly shocked and had no idea what she was talking about. And I was like, it was so crazy.
That is, I love that story.
Right?
I love the story. Yeah.
And I love the full circle of it, because obviously that had been on, I was something that I was just like, oh, I wonder what that was. And it was just this full circle of it that I was like, oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I know. I freaking love those. This is the part where it's just like,
Aw, that's good. That's
yeah, it was fun. Okay.
Yes.
Start this mosh posh episode off. We love our mosh posh episodes.
Yeah, well, it kind of ties into the story you just told about the little girl being fearful, because there's so much fear in this human experience, and I've been going through my own fear to continue to change, because I'm like, the fear is that I don't have control over, like, with relationships, for example. So the more I continue to ascend and change and learn more and evolve, sometimes I feel like the gap between me and some of my relationships gets bigger and bigger. Mm-hmm. So there's a fear that I hold around continuing, because I don't want to lose these relationships. And I'm fearful that I will, even though it's most likely that the relationship will also evolve, or those relationships will also evolve, but you just don't know, right? So in my human ego side, there's a lot of fear. So I was journaling and I was in meditation.
So one thing, like with that, I think it's a fear of obviously the relationships too, but it's also there would be a fear of like your life changing as you know it, right? Oh, so like as you grow and expand and start to fundamentally change, which is amazing, and people are like, oh, that's amazing, like who wouldn't want that? And like you're becoming more of your true self, like what? Like everybody wants that, but at the cost of that, there's still this like you said, the relationships, but even just your life as you know it starts to like literally like transform, and that's fucking scary. That's your comfort.
It is scary, because you also, what you're doing as you evolve and change is that you're also surrendering and losing control. And I say losing control like in parentheses, because you're never truly like losing control. And that's the point of surrendering, is to trust and to flow, right? But when you do that fully, you are no longer in control. You're just moving with the flow. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Yeah, you're not like,
there-
you don't have the driver's wheel and trying to like hold you in a
Yeah.
certain place. It's like if you truly start to let go and go to your authentic self, like there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff that is always maybe been around you or built up around you that starts to fall away, and
Yeah.
that's very vulnerable. That's a very
Yeah.
vulnerable space to be in, because it's like a fresh new baby.
Yeah.
You like shed all this stuff, and then it's like that raw new skin, and you're like, this is scary and uncomfortable.
It
I
is, because
know.
it is uncomfortable, it's scary, and it's vulnerable. Because you also don't know what that looks like because you haven't been there yet, right?
You haven't built
So
up your defenses,
Mhm.
right? Like, because we think our whole life we've slowly built up our shields and our defenses because we've experienced things and then learned and been like, I don't like that, so I won't do. So when you kind of like are doing this like reset,
Mhm.
kind of like you're walking in this with like, okay, like I have no idea what this is going to do, and so then it's like you're redoing it from a different way,
Mhm.
right? Like
Yeah.
your armor.
And it feels like a deeper layer. So as we talk about layers and so many aspects of this journey, you're really, when you first start this journey, it's like the surface level layer you're working on, and it's like you're reprogramming, or you're discovering whether your thoughts and belief systems are truly yours, or whether they're actually programs or somebody else's thoughts or belief systems. And then you start to like align your life or your vision and your vocabulary, like the way you communicate, with your true thoughts and beliefs, and that shifts. But I was the point of this is I was in meditation and I was doing some automatic writing. So I was channeling some guidance around this. So I thought that I would share it because I read it to Allison.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought we would share it with the audience because I found it very helpful and insightful. And it also felt very loving, like the way that it came through. So because it's completely channeled from my guide. So I'll share it. So I'm just going to read from my journal so you guys get like a firsthand peek into it. But and I won't read the first part, but I'll say, so again, this is about the fear of change, or the fear to continue to change and evolve. Because there's the fear there that if you do that, some big things in your life might fall away, or whatever. So there's a fear there. So here we go. The funny thing about this journey is that before you are called to this path, you do not truly know who you are. We wear many masks, become different people for different people, and this journey is a discovery of your true authentic self. You begin to uncover your authenticity, your own morals, your own beliefs, your own values, and you begin to shine this little speck of your true essence. And the more you discover, the brighter it shines. And the brighter it shines, the harder it is to become anyone other than your truest self. And this will confuse many people, especially those closest to you, because you've never expressed this version of yourself before. They are getting to know this person just as you are discovering them. And how blessed are they to be witness to this blooming version of your truest self? How blessed are they to experience your light, your frequency, and your truth? And if they cannot hold space for your blooming expression of yourself, then they're not ready to be in your presence and experience all of who you are and all of who you will become. If those around you cannot be grateful for you in their life, then they are not ready to be in your life. They are not ready to meet you where you are, and that is okay, for that is where they are at, and that is their truest expression of themselves at this moment in time. And that does not mean they will never be able to accept your new self, your most evolved self. It just means not now. So do not be afraid to continue on this path, for it will all unfold as it is meant to. It will unfold like a rosebud is blooming, one petal at a time, one burst of magic at a time, until it has fully bloomed. And then this version of you will die and create space for another bud to burst and to bloom. So as the circle of life and the cycle of the seasons. So it is.
Do you know, it's so funny when you were reading that, it reminded me of people reading the Bible. if that
Oh,
sounds weird. I'm like, so like going to church, like they'll read scriptures, right?
yeah.
And there was certain language that you used in there that I was like, oh my God, it just completely reminded me of somebody reading a scripture
Oh,
because it's
interesting.
written like that.
Yeah.
Isn't
It
that
was written.
crazy?
That's how I speak. That's not how I speak.
No, that's not how you speak. And that's where you know, like this channeling coming in, because like, and like, you know, I know the Bible's definitely been shifted and changed and the narrative and stuff like that, but there's like it obviously would have still aspects of the original purpose and copy, and there was just certain things that when you were talking, I was like, holy crap, that totally sounds like some of these scriptures I've heard when people go up to read them. So crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I found that like after I wrote it out, and because I like when you're channeling like that, you don't truly
No.
anchor what you're receiving, and then you go back and you reread it and you're like, oh, that's pretty insightful.
Yeah.
So I found it to be pretty, I don't know, just helpful to I guess almost like permission to continue. And you know, give me some insight as to like, I guess, compassion for the people around me in the relationships, just to meet them where they're at, because I can't force anybody to change with me or to move along the path that I'm on. You just can't force anybody to do that as much as you might want them to.
Because you don't want to lose them, right? Like that's where it's more like, you know, yeah, you can't force them, but this feeling of wanting to force them, or like even this feeling of desperation of like, oh my God, can you just do this? Because you also you and it's coming from a place of like, because if you don't, I'm not going to be able to stay here, and that's so sad and so scary, right?
Yeah,
it's so sad and so scary.
Yeah. So for anybody that's in the same position, I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, you know, obviously I experienced that within my marriage, and exactly that whole part where it was like, I've changed. I was, you know, trying to, you know, like shift it and change. And I saw some change in him, and I was like, it's happening. And then it's like, it got so far, and then it was just kind of like slipped away. And that, you know, and you're just like, oh my God, okay. Like, and that's their journey. And that's okay. But I also was like, it did bring me to that point where I had to be like, I can't stay in this, because we're so far apart now, you know?
Yeah. And that's and that is just, it's obviously, for anybody that's happened to, like, that is just planned. You know what I mean?
It is planned. And I do believe, like, with free will, obviously that person, so obviously my ex-husband, there was a timeline that he did keep growing and stepped up and was able to heal and grow and kind of meet me where. So absolutely. So it's not like this, like, this isn't happening. There definitely was a timeline that could have existed, and then there was a timeline that did exist that he didn't. And it's funny because, you know, you talk about like the changing and scared to release it, and like I know for myself, where my experience with it is, it's like it was happening. I could see some of the divide. And there was hope still. There was just hope, until there was just no hope. But at that point, it wasn't,
there.
yeah. So in that sense, it wasn't kind of like right now sitting there going like, oh my God, if I keep growing, then this is going to leave. It was kind of like, once I would have thought the same thing. And, but it kind of became that natural path that by the time it got to that point, yes, it was obviously scary and hard, but it was like, there was a comfort in, I knew that there was just no, it just is what it is. So, you know, kind
I
of
feel like
in that sense.
It does. And I think, like, you know, through that process, as an intuitive, you understand, like, you can feel into timelines, right? And into timing. And through that process, there's a you know, process of like emotionally preparing or disconnecting, or because you were right, like, as you get further down this path, if they're not moving with you, whatever relationship it is, a partner, a friendship, a family member, a child, whatever it is, like if you just are no longer on the same page and you can feel that disconnection, you can't go backwards. It's not like anybody can like turn around and be like, I'm going to go backwards, but I want to touch on that.
I'm like, you definitely can. And install it. And I feel like I've done that in my life and continue to, like you've said before, where you're like, I can be too loyal at times to the point, like I stretch it out to the last bitter second. and that's like
upon you now.
It's totally, and it's like, and I definitely, you were completely right in that. And like, in many different aspects, whether it's friendship, family, job, relationship, like all the things, like I can kind of be like, I'm gonna squeeze every, I'm gonna try every little thing to the very last morsel of like, you can't do anymore. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'm done.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's the more suffering path.
Yeah. Well, it is kind of is, but also like, I feel like this shows up in, a lot of friendships as well. And I'm experiencing this, too, where and I don't want to sound like self-righteous or better than anybody, because I know I'm not, and I'm just different. And I often feel like I don't belong or I don't fit in. Like I just feel like I am always on the outside a little bit and I'm trying to fit in. So I participate in, gatherings or getting together, and there's like, I'll drink some wine or have a couple glasses, or I'll go out, and it's just like, I do this because I feel like I'm fitting in. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like there's a lot of us out there who are on this path of ascension and are raising their vibration and trying to live their authentic self. But also there's a point where I feels like we fall back into old habits and behaviors because that's how we fit in with the world. And reflecting on that a lot recently in thinking about high school, I partied all the time. First of all, it was the 90s, early 2000s. Just what we did. We were at bush parties. I lived in a small town. There was nothing else to do. I was super social, but it was the only way I knew to feel like I belonged and that I fit in with the people around me. And then carrying that into young adulthood and into adulthood, socially, that's what you do socially. That's just the way that our society has been, but it doesn't align with me anymore. But that's also like what people still do. So how do
they expect it from you?
Yeah.
Right? Like it's one of those things where you're like, oh no, I don't need a drink. You're kind of looked at like,
why don't you drink?
You got a problem? You're recovering alcoholic? Like what's going on? Right? Like, it does. And that's so funny because like when I say that, like talking about that gathering with the neighbors 2 years ago, and that was one of the things, the ladies were having some wine, and I just don't drink like wine. I just don't like the taste, man. There's no other reason. Literally, I don't like the taste of alcohol. Well, that's it. But I remember it kind of being like, because I just forget, I don't think about it. And I remember it kind of being like, being asked again, are you sure you don't want anything? And I realized after, I was like, oh shit, maybe they think, like, I can see where some people could be like, oh God, are they judging me for like day drinking or... Do you know what I mean? Like there's a bit of like, whether that was happening or not, but I'm like, I could, how I like to put myself in other people's shoes. I like to sit there and be like, I'll be in your shoes and then somebody else's shoes and I will look at it from all corners. And I realized like, oh yeah, I guess like if I was that person and having, like afternoon, having some wine, whatever, and somebody wasn't, it'd be like, one, like, why not? I wonder if they're like recovering alcoholic, like what's going on? Two, are they judging us? Are they like, like, are they looking at me? Especially if you don't know the person, are they like thinking like, oh wow, day drinking? All of these things like kind of came in my head. And because again, it's that socially, it's kind of like that when somebody's like maybe engaging in something, like say I'm eating sweets, for instance, and my partner's like, no, I don't want any. You all of a sudden feel so guilty being a person indulging in something, and you're like, I can't even fucking enjoy my cupcake because you're sitting there and you're like, I'm being healthy.
So true.
So true. Like you start judging yourself.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
drinking
started
is that.
having, well, alcohol dulls your vibration, right? And it it brings your vibration down. So if you're intentionally trying to like raise your frequency, drinking isn't going to help that. It's going to bring you down, especially for the next day. You're going to feel like you're off centered. And I can tell you, like, when Nick has a night where he's been drinking, like whatever, like but I haven't, like I've chosen not to.
Yeah.
The next day I can literally feel that we're not on the same page. Like our vibrations do not match. And I can physically feel that difference because his vibration is lower and mine is normal. Right. And
it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, it can be uncomfortable for sure.
It's uncomfortable. I remember, definitely having those days with my ex-husband where, because again, like I don't not drink. I'm one of those people, I drink to get drunk. Like if I'm gonna drink, it's because I'm partying and there's like and that happens like maybe once a year, right? I'm not a casual drinker where it's like, oh, I just love the taste of this, and it's like makes me like I don't like the taste enough. So yeah, I'm not gonna sit there on a Friday and just have a cooler because I definitely wouldn't drink a beer. Gross. I'm the type that I drink the alcohol that doesn't taste like alcohol because it's so sugary and your teeth hurt the next day. Like that's the only way I'll drink. Yeah.
Instant headache.
Instant headache. And so where was I going with that? Oh yeah. And so we definitely had that where it was like, no, he did like having his beer, on the weekend or during the day, like a lot of people do, right? Like I grew up in a family, like my parents always sat there and have their boxed wine, literally a box of wine. And I grew up with them having their wine at night. My sister enjoys having a beer or, wine and stuff. Like it's so freaking normal. But it was just never my thing. But I do remember like we would have like times on the weekend where it was like, yeah, the next day, the vibrate like really off. And I get it. Yeah. Maybe you drink a little bit too much. You got a headache. You're tired. You're whatever. But that creates such a like frustration too, right? And I didn't realize the vibration part because I hadn't gone down that path. Yeah. But if I look back now, I can clearly see the difference. And then I can clearly see that then I would start to lower and kind of come down because you start to adapt to the energies around you sometimes. Or when you're an empath, you start to absorb and feel that. So I would wake up in the morning thinking, oh, it's like Saturday. Let's get some things done. Let's clean the house and like whatever, right? And then slowly be like, I don't want to do anything. Nothing. Couch potato. I know. It's hard.
Yeah. So again, like, I don't know, maybe people are noticing this too.
I know.
Fear to change and then, participating in certain events or activities. Maybe you might not even realize you're doing it to fit in, or to feel like you fit in, but maybe just reflecting on that part too, because that has been coming up for me recently, and I don't usually talk about what I'm moving through, but I'm moving through it.
Something new. Right? I'm trying something new. My therapist said I need to be more vulnerable. No.
Well, do you want to know what else I'm moving through?
What?
Perimenopause. Let's not talk about that.
Okay.
I've conceded that I am in perimenopause. I hate it. It's terrible.
I love it. It's finally happened.
So for me, I'm working on trying not to fix people's issues and to just hold space for when they're sharing their issues with me. Because I will often try to find, like we just did it with you and we were talking about an Oracle card deck and fuck, I just did it. And you're like, I can't, where do you do? And I'm like, let me look. And I'm like trying to fix your problem. Like,
and there's a balance. And there's a balance because it's not like you're meant to not just help anybody.
No, I know.
Off, get out of here. Yeah. You fuck off too. Like, get out of here.
I'm not gonna fix anybody's problem. But it's
like away from me. You want a mortgage? No. I'm not doing that. I know I'm a murder specialist, but I'm not doing that right now.
That's not a problem I can fix.
That's
Just kidding.
not my problem.
But it's like,
I think it's more the emotional.
Yes,
even in that sense, right? Like if somebody's struggling and they're not even wanting to help themselves.
And that's, yes, because I can get frustrated when I'm like, when somebody's, we're having a good conversation. This is my problem. I'm struggling. This is work. This is life. This is blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, what if you did this? Or maybe try this? Or what if you said this? Or what if you did that? Don't forget, it's like a wall. You can, as an sensitively energetic, you can feel that wall. And it's like talking to a fucking wall. And then I get frustrated that it's not being received. Yeah. And then it comes full circle. I'm like, oh, they don't actually want me to fix their problem. They just need me to listen to it. Okay. So that is something that I'm trying to be very mindful of. And I'm moving through right now. There's been a lot of opportunity for me to practice this. And I'm failing almost every single time, but I'm getting there. So sometimes.
Well, and I think it's also like, I think it's also recognizing, because yes, I do agree in the sense that sometimes you just are there to listen. And I struggle with that too, right? Like, and I think a lot of people struggle with that. A lot of men struggle with that, right? Like your spouse comes home and she's like, raging about work. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, just do this, and just like kind of in a way they get mad. And you're like, why are you mad at me? I'm just trying to tell you. But it's their instinct to try to like help. Like they're in their anger is more in like, but I'm trying to help this. Like, this shouldn't be this way. And so it's one of those where it's like, okay. This isn't my battle. Like, I can be here as support to listen. If they ask, what should I do? Type of thing. And then I think as also in the same breath, it's like, even if somebody asks and you give advice, it's one of those where it's like, okay. And then that's for them to do with what they want to do. And if they choose to do the opposite, that's their path. It's just releasing. It's like, here you go. You came to me. I gave you some tools. Do with it what you may. And because we are all on this learning journey, we're all learning and healing and all of these things. Yeah, that person might turn around and do the fucking opposite. But that's part of their path.
And that is hard. That's been hard for me to
release.
I want to say two things here. That's hard for me to release, like you said, like to be okay with. What was the other thing I was going to say? Oh my God, it was there.
Perimenopause. Fucking perimenopause. Oh my God.
Gone. But yes, that's what were you saying? When somebody's their journey and to release it. Yeah.
And that it's like their path and their own healing. And then like you can give the advice, but then like let it go and don't have expectations of what that outcome will be.
Yeah. Yeah. So yes, I have a hard time with that one because I get frustrated. And I was just talking to somebody about this the other day where it's like, as a reader, sometimes when people come and then then that person comes back over and over and over again. Like, we love to see the same people. Like there's nothing wrong with it. But when they keep asking the same question and you've read on this certain issue a few times now, and you're like, why aren't you getting it? That's frustrating for me. And then I get frustrated when they book because I'm like, why are we going through this again? Like this is the third meeting.
It's not changing. It's not changing. But I guess that comes in with the holding space, right? So
that's what I wanted to say was that like, it's my lesson is to learn how to release this is what I was going to say. My lesson to learn how to release the need to carry that for them. So a lot of times as empaths and as intuitives and as friends and as partners, when somebody has a problem, you want to fix it. So you try to fix it, but then you hold that for them. And then it starts to get heavy it starts to weigh you down because you're worried about them and their problem and how are they going to move through it. So that's how we hold things for us, but we need to learn how to release it and recognize that it is not our path. It's their path. It's their journey. It's their lesson. And the lesson in that for me is to not hold it. And I've been holding a lot of it recently, which is partly why I'm not doing readings right now because of the things that I'm moving through my life. Like I'm holding a lot. for a lot of people. But then when it came down to the readings with people who book multiple times, and I was getting frustrated like about that, it comes down to the same reason. Like they just, sometimes people need to hear something 3 or 4 times before it will click, or they need to hear it from you.
That space.
Yeah. And it's not my job to fix it for them. My job is to provide the tools and the insight so that they can move forward. And if that's what I do in a reading for somebody, then that's my job. My job isn't to fix it. So I can feel better moving forward with readings, I think, understanding that part of my role, whereas I was getting so fixed on helping people solve their problems.
No, you're just the vessel that's to that conduit to like have this message come through to the other side. And it's no different than sitting down with a bank client and trying to explain a product that they just don't get. Right. I'm like, I was talking about this the other day with one of my coworkers, like, just different experiences where you've sat with some people and, maybe like a product is a little more complex and you explain it the way you usually explain it and they're not getting it. So then you explain it a different way and they're still not getting it. And then you're kind of like, oh man, like, okay, I'm going to start drawing pictures now. And you're like, and I've literally done this. This is a real story, right? Yeah. Where you're sitting there and you're like, okay, this is this. And we do the bridge and this. That's no different. Just because it's all happened in one meeting is one way, but in the same thing, you're explaining the same message, but different ways. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, wow. 12:34. I love that when the spirit shows up like that. Yeah, you're explaining in different ways. It just was in like a longer kind of like period. And I think also when I think there was also this responsibility you felt like when somebody would book that you needed to give something more or different and like I completely where you're kind of like, oh my God, like they're paying me for something. And I'm just like, like I'm receiving the same thing and they're going to be so disappointed. And like, I need to give them something more and different. And it's like, no, that was their choice to book it. And if the message is the same, the message is the same, but maybe like sitting there and having that space and feeling that frequency for that hour is what they need. Interesting.
So as I move through that, I'm moving through a lot right now.
Oh, it's so hard. I feel I am too. I'm like, I feel like there's just like so much self reflection of like understanding myself and looking at patterns and attributes and ways I deal with things and kind of being like, oh, wow, like seeing these patterns across the board, like you and I were talking before. And, a big lesson of mine is boundaries. And it just sounds so fucking stupid and simplistic and like, just fucking do your boundaries, man. And I'm like, and it just seems so hard. I'm really struggling. And
you struggle. I feel like you struggle with it because I feel like you're practicing it and you do fairly well in certain situations. But then there's other situations that are maybe more sensitive.
You're right.
Because you feel it viscerally, like physically. Like for example, work, like the bank. It's easier to hold boundaries there at that job than it is, I'd say, in the luminant soul, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. Absolutely. Yeah. So, and it's so true. And then I sit there and I get so fucking confused because I'm like, Allison, you can be a badass bitch over here and be like, excuse me, this is not right. Not that I talk like that, but I definitely have a stronger voice. And when I feel something is unjust or wrong, I have no problem, having a constructive discussion about it. Right. I've been like that since a child. Pulling my high school teacher aside saying I want to talk about what just happened in class. I did not appreciate this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, who the fuck are you? You're a teenager. I'm like, where did this come from? I have no problem when it comes to like that kind of like authority and stuff. But then I struggle in certain aspects, like maybe within relationship aspects. So dynamics. So whether that's in friendships, whether that's in partnership, like lovers, lovers, family, and exerting my boundaries in the sense of like over giving.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, it kind of just feels like I become kind of like a doormat, but then at the same time, I'm not, because I'm also very, I remember in my marriage, like it was like, yeah, I could let things go and be easy breezy and blah, blah, blah. But then I definitely was like, no, I'm like, we're sharing the responsibilities of the household. So I'm not no fucking doormat.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many like little nuances where I get taken advantage of. And one of the themes that has come up that I've been sitting with and reflecting on, and this has been a theme my whole life. So it is the part of when I first get into like a relationship, a role, whatever it is, and I'm starting this, like building this relationship. So whether this is I'm starting at a new job and I'm building friendships and stuff, whether it's a relationship and all this stuff, it's like I start off and I'm just kind of like, it's like this, like, hey, and I'm like, oh, forgiving. And I'm like, I would love this and all this stuff. And then it slowly, the other party starts to take advantage of my
Mm-hmm.
kindness. And I see it. And I slowly see like this kind of like, well, that was what? Well, why are they doing that? And it's like I go through this little fucking period where I'm starting to be like, oh my God, they're like taking advantage of me. Why would they stop? And then I get mad. And not like crazy mad, but I'm like, it's like it pushes me enough to the point that then I have to now push back.
Yeah.
And so that's how I see it. I see it as just kind of like this going along. I'm just like slowly being walked all over. And then all of a sudden you push me enough. And now I'm going to push back and be like, yeah, I'm not tolerant of this anymore. And then we have to go through this weird fucking phase of me being like, yeah, no. And being like, guess what? I do have a backbone. And then we fall into a happy medium and everybody's happy. We move forward like that. Every single time. I remember when I worked in a lingerie store and I was a team leader, and I can clearly remember every new employee that would come on and I would be leading them and all these things. We'd go through these periods like, oh yeah, Allison's so cool, so nice, like, la, 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 like we love her. And then I'd slowly start to see them just start to take advantage and just start to do things that was kind of like, dude, why are you doing that? And then I would have to be like, okay, like I'm your supervisor. We can't have this. Like it was like, don't lose track. I am still your supervisor. I can be friends, but respect me. And then until that conversation, they wouldn't respect me. It happened in the bank, right? A superior took advantage. I'm nice. I let things go. I can let things go very easily, but you push it too far and now I'm going to come back. And then we have that fucking correction conversation and then we're good. And so I'm like, why do I have to go through this? Why do I have to go through this? Like, in relationships at the same time, they're like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Until they start etching away and taking away and taking more advantage and more advantage and more advantage. And I start to feel like I'm getting smaller and smaller. And then I have to be like, absolutely not. And I start to push back in ways. And then it's like, why are you doing that? Like, why are you being mean? And I'm like, I'm not being mean. I'm literally just putting a boundary up. Like,
well, because they haven't seen that side of you yet.
No.
Because you didn't show it to them at the beginning when you should have.
I know. But I think in my, how it is in my head is like, I will give. And as long as I feel appreciated, as long as I feel there's some reciprocal, like we could live a beautiful life if it just was like this, right? But why does the other person then have to be like, start to kind of overpower and take more and more and more? I'm like, why can't you just be fucking cool and just give, take? I wouldn't do that because I would love to stay in that space. I would love to stay in the space of just like giving, and like it's my natural state of being, is my natural place. I love it. I love being that, but I don't love when all of a sudden the energy shifts and I start to be feeling taken advantage of or not. Yeah, like that shit then pisses me off. And now I'm like, great. Now I have to do something. Now I have to like start pulling back what I want to just naturally give to you. Now I have to start being someone that I'm not, I guess, in my way. In that way, it's like I'm having to be somebody that I'm not. I'm having to go against how I feel to be like, no, you're not going to do this, because now they, if you do this, then they're going to like, take advantage of it and push it too far. And then you're going to feel shitty about it. And then you're going to have to like push back. And so now I'm becoming my inauthentic self in a way, and doing something that I don't want to do. But if you never took advantage of it in the first place, I would never have to fucking go there. So do you see that frustration? I'm so frustrated with it.
That is frustrating.
And it's a repeat. It repeats my whole fucking life.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's disappointing and frustrating, because that is just the nature of most people, to just keep taking and taking and taking, right? And not
you allow them, I guess, like that's what I'm hearing right now. Like if you allow them,
it doesn't have to be a hard boundary in the beginning, like, but I feel like, I feel like when you're in a relationship with somebody that's new, or in a new situation, I feel like intuitively the moment that it flips, and because you can feel it, and that is the moment in which you should be asserting your boundary, not later
until it's happened so many times. I get that. I see that, where all of a sudden you just kind of like, and I also recognize that I think one of the things that I've received in readings before, from when I'm receiving a reading, is kind of that I need to be comfortable with like accepting, like taking, like I need to be comfortable with receiving. There you go. Take your shit. Receiving. And I think like definitely, I do see that, where there's things that like somebody is, will ask me to do something. And in my head, I'm like, I would never ask to do that. Right. Like I would never ask. And then it's like, good on them for asking. Like you have every right to say no. Good on them for asking. Like, oh, do you mind like doing this? Like, if I don't want to do it, I don't have to do it. I can just say no, and vice versa. But if you don't ask, you won't know. So there's kind of this like, in my head, I'm going, well, that's kind of rude. But then it's like, well, good on them for asking.
Yeah.
It's all on the person, that if you all of a sudden, now, if somebody asks, and I think this is where I've kind of fallen into, is like somebody asks something and they're used to me always saying yes. And then all of a sudden I say no. And then I get backlash. Like, are you being mean? And then I'm like, I say, well, no, one time. And now I'm a bitch. Right. So then it goes to that extreme. Not that I talk like that. That's just in my head. That doesn't come out of my lips.
That's my inner dialogue.
That's my inner dialogue, where I'm like, and then, but my outside, I'm like diplomatic about it.
And that's your sister. You do that with your sister. I can tell.
Yeah, I do that. Yeah, no, I do that. And I'm like, and when you talked about at the beginning of like, when you're changing and having compassion for the people around you, to understand that, you're shifting and they're not just going to shift. And that was very much at the very beginning of my journey with my family, right? Like that came up where I felt the biggest divide amongst my very close family, like my core unit, right? My parents and my sister and me. And, we were kind of like disgustingly close, like people would be like, oh my God, you guys are going on vacation together? I'm like, yeah, because we like to. And I was disrupting this by all of a sudden having different thought patterns and
and inserting your boundaries, because you didn't have any before that with them.
No, I was totally like easy breezy, beautiful cover girl, like whatever. And then all of a sudden I'm having different opinions outside of their opinions, because it was always, I kind of just like, oh yeah, what do you think? Okay, yeah. And then all of a sudden I was pushing that narrative, and it was like getting looked at like with three heads, and then inserting the boundaries, and literally like it was being received as if like I'd hurt them. Like, the way you spoke to me, like that hurt. And I was like, how did I speak to you? I didn't speak to you any differently, but the vibration changed. It was, yeah. Oh, it's so funny as I'm saying that. I was just thinking it because it felt like a slap to them. Like, so you know what we were talking about beforehand. So before we came on, we were talking how I feel like I've become more sensitive to feeling the shifts in somebody. And so like, say somebody gets a little like frustrated with me or snarky or whatever, right? Normal human things, and says something like snarky. I feel it like a stab wound. Like it's so loud and sharp, and it really hurts. And that's difficult because we all do it. I do it. We do it. We should be having allowance.
The human reaction.
Yeah, we're not perfect. This is just part of it. And I remember being like, but holy shit, do I feel it? And it feels like a slap on my face. So right when I was just saying that when I expressed and like they received it as like, oh my God, you're being so mean. They received it because it was this new frequency, this new energy that they haven't been on the receiving end of. So even though I was being very friendly, but just asserting my boundaries, they took it as like a slap in the face of being mean. And so it just made me come full circle, realizing like, when I receive that, when I'm not used to receiving that from somebody, that energy feels like a slap in the face, you know?
Yes. That is interesting because that's not their natural way of being. So that's why we feel it so much louder.
Yeah.
Because that's not their authentic self.
No. And it's, but it's themselves, it's that themselves being comfortable enough and feeling safe enough that they can show that aspect, right? Like, I'm not going to go in and have a grumpy, moody day with, a coworker that I barely know. I'm going to put on my face and, hi, yeah, I'm doing great. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Versus like you go home to your spouse and you're like, so grumpy, and you take it out on them, right? But that's also a safety thing, right? You feel safe enough to do that. So fucking what the hell?
So we come to no conclusions today. Just reflections.
Reflections. Well, I think like misery loves misery. No, but you know when you're going through something and then you talk to a friend, they're like, oh my God, I've been feeling the same thing. I've been going through this. And then you just feel so much better knowing like, God, you too? Oh, okay. It feels so much better. That's
honestly, it is the timing of the seasons. It is the dark days. It is the death and rebirth season in general, the Samhain and then the winter solstice coming up. This is the energy of the season that we're in. So it is normal for us to be feeling, the feelings and asking to reflect on shadows and, change mindsets or be mindful and change behaviors and patterns and start working on that so that when the spring comes, we can start planting seeds and start evolving and growing. And that is how we grow and evolve and change and shift as a human being. And that is part of what we're here for. So
Absolutely. So I love it. I love our little soul chats. That's kind of what
that's good soul chat.
Yeah.
And I never share my personal stuff.
Mandy, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. I can't wait to hear more of your inner shadows.
That will be it.
No. I opened it, I closed it, we're done. You had your opportunity to poke around. No, Mandy, you are entering a different phase and there's going to be way more. Oh, you are going to start to embrace your true Cancer and start crying way more often. Come on over.
You'd be surprised at how I'm like, I don't cry a lot, but I have different moods a lot.
So AKA you're moody.
I'm moody. Cancers are moody.
I'm moody as fuck.
But I'm moody dependent on so many things. Like my partner's mood, the moon, where the moon is at, what season we're in.
You can't even predict it?
I can't. Like it's fucking like a roller coaster.
Oh, that's why when we would say, I'm just riding I'm just riding.
You just ride my wave. And so Nick rides my wave. My kids ride. I'm sorry. I can't be anything different.
That's who you are. It's fine.
And I appreciate all the people in my life that ride my wave.
Yeah. Get my
I know it.
skateboard, and I'm like, let's go. Woo! Let's have a fun time. Who are we with now? Who do we got?
Oh my God.
It's fun. It makes it interesting.
Yeah, it does. You're welcome.
Yeah, so much. Oh, it's so good. All right. Well, this was amazing. Emotional. You gonna go cry now? I'm gonna go cry now. No, it's good for you.
Good.
It feels good.
Yeah,
like, whatever.
It's good. I hope this helped somebody.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, I think it will. Well, I always feel like we get guided for a certain reason, right? So sometimes it's just somebody's like, oh my God, I feel like you're talking exactly about me, or whatever it is. So there you go. And then next week we're going to talk about the winter solstice.
Yeah,
how to work with that and kind of what's happening, and maybe even like particularly this one, because we have 3i Atlas going to be the closest to Earth around that time, and that's
on the 19th. So we will. Podcast release will be the 18th, the day before.
And it's like, come on, it's all lined up properly, right? Like it's the closest, right close to the solstice. Come on, nothing's coincidental. We know that.
Yeah,
we know that. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us for yet another chaotic episode. Over the place. Have a good one. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.